would give activities as a preventative measure to keep from a lot of these behaviors that we're going to address in the late stage section as well. So just take any of the activities that we listed together and you could grade them down a little simpler for your clients that are in late stage. All right. Now, in my advanced level class, we talk about antecedents to behavior. Behavior doesn't come out of nowhere. Behavior is a form of communication that something happened or something didn't happen. But Algase takes this one step further. He has a theory base called need-driven behavior. He believes that all behavior comes from some unmet need. He thinks that behaviors are an expression of an unmet need. If I don't get what I need or want, you'll get a behavior. So help me, help me, help me, help me. The need driving the behavior could be I want help for something. Could be pain, could be attention, could be I need to be comforted somehow. The wanderer. The philosopher St. Lawrence said, through walking I will find the answer. What if you're in a phase of dementia where you don't understand end product, but you can sustain an action? What if I never know when I reach the answer? I might still keep walking. Okay? Maybe I want to walk to shake it off. And how do I know when I shake it off if I never have that sense of finality? So he believes there's an interplay between antecedents and needs that could cause behaviors. And in this case, we're going to call it, whatever this thing is, the catalyst. Okay? So if you go back to that blank section of your book, we're going to write 3 letters. C, A, P. And as we go through these difficult behaviors, I want you to think, what could be the catalyst of this behavior? And then we make a plan. A, what is the action that we will take to address it? And this is what you do at your team meeting when we talk about a problem. C, A, P. What's the behavior? What do we think the potential catalysts are? Was it an environmental thing? Is it a psychosocial thing? Is it a medical problem that could be triggering this behavior? Is it an unmet need? That's all C. A, action. What are we going to do to address it? Are we going to address a medical need, change the environment, routine, or caregiver approach? P, how could we prevent this behavior from occurring? And hopefully that's your easiest answer. Usually prevention is easier than intervention. So how could we keep them from doing it? Well, let's give them an activity before that time that it typically happens to prevent it from happening. If it happens at the same time every day, we would call it sundowning. Sundowning is a change of behavior that happens at nearly the same time every day. It could be shift change, it could be when the sun goes down, it could be when visitors come and leave. All right, so C, catalyst, which includes antecedents and needs. A, action plan. P, prevention plan. All right, there are other models for this. There's your traditional ABC behavior model. And if you want an ABC behavior tracker, go onto the alz.org website, and you can print out your own ABC behavior observation tracker form. A stands for antecedent, B for behavior, C for consequence. Consequence is a good thing to kind of list because it would be your argument to a third-party payer of why you would even want to address this behavior. Are they going to hurt themselves? Are they going to get muscle disuse atrophy because of this? Will they get a pressure ulcer? Will they have to be put on a restraint, chemical or physical? Will they no longer be able to live in this environment if this behavior continues? And then, the A is really an intervention goal. That whole A section of CAP is your intervention goal. But it's just another format, and they're nice worksheets because you could just hand them out to family members that complain about behaviors to you, and you say, well, fill out the sheet so we can gather some information about the ABCs, and then we'll see what we can do to help you. And usually, as we fill out the worksheet, we find the solution. But if not, you have enough data to help you be a sleuth to figure out why it's happening. All right, and we'll use most of this, we'll do a CAP, we'll break up in groups, and before I tell you about behaviors and how to deal with them, I'm going to have you get into some groups and come up with your own creative solutions first before I go through and tell you about the research, okay? I know that's kind of mean, but I want you to be creative in your approach for it. So you six, if you could all be a group and gather around that table, I'll give you a client and their behavior in late stage. And let me just, I want to tell you a little bit about what people in late stage are like first. They will need up to total assistance in all care, and we're meeting Reisberg's profile of a 3 to 5 year old. So that's going to tell you how long you should really leave them home alone, right? How long? Not long. Not long. Should they be cooking? I mean, maybe they could snap the peas or peel the corn, husk the corn and stuff, but I probably wouldn't want them working on the stove top. They might be forgetful, burn things. They are dependent on another person for survival. Someone always has to kind of be around, because unlike kids, they're taller. They can get in a lot more trouble because they can reach the meds and eat things they're not supposed to and trip over stuff because they're really not looking out. They can become agitated after an outing, so that could also trigger sundowning. Any transition could cause some behaviors and anxiety. At the end of the stage, they can no longer walk. So that's when we know they're leaving the stage. Their walking gait is no longer really a functional gait. It might take 3 people to walk with them. And then we know at that point we've probably got to step back, and it's time. And as soon as we step back, they just really go very quickly into late stage, losing all basic psychomotor ability. They can participate in very repetitive type of low-level activities because they can sustain an action at this stage. They just might not know when to stop. So give them kind of an open-ended activity if that's what you decide to do, but they might perseverate. Now, we might see that with the brushing, the grooming, etc. So those are some expectations just to get you started. And each group, I'm going to give you a different kind of behavior to work on, and then you can come back and tell me your solution. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 behaviors. All right, so all 6 of you are a group. If you 4 could work together as a group, and then you 6, if you could work together as a group, I will come by and give you different behaviors to work on. Your client keeps stripping off all of her clothing. Okay. Your client keeps scratching at a cut on her arm. Your client keeps spitting out his food. He's on a puree diet. Yeah, puree. What's your name? What's your last name? I left the form in the back of the room. So. I a Muppet? Do I move around too much? Okay.
Do a CAP. You're doing a CAP, just so you know.
However you discuss it, when you're done, I want you to talk to me through CAP for your process, okay? All right, now come up with your action and your prevention. It's like pretend it's your team meeting. We got to wrap it up and go to the next patient. So get what you can out of it. And pick your representative. we're good? Okay. Probably like 2 more minutes.
When you were talking about like delusions, we have a resident who thinks that one of the other lady residents is his wife, and he doesn't want to hear that that's not his wife. And the lady gets very, very annoyed because he follows her all around, and he says she's mad at me, she's not answering me.
Oh.
But she's very hard of hearing, that's why she's not talking to me. But she was like, please help me.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, what would you recommend that I say to him? He's constantly looking for his wife, but now, in the replacement of not going out to look for her anymore, now
She's deceased, by the way.
Oh, right, okay. Is there someone else that wouldn't mind? Or like, is there another person who wouldn't mind if he followed them?
I think actually this lady looks a little bit like his wife. I actually probably not very. I mean, I showed him the picture of her and the chart, and I said, "See, it says Priscilla," and he said, "That's just what she's telling you."
Oh, yeah, because he just believes that you can't get in there.
Exactly. So that's not working.
Could she wear a hat?
So disguise her.
I guess. I mean, I'm kind of just thinking creative stuff there.
They're like,
Maybe if she wears a hat. Maybe if she wears a hat, like, might try.
cover his hair.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if she dresses like her or if she's like the same stature.
I asked his daughter, and she said, "Yes, she kind of does look like my mom."
So I don't want to move anybody because we cause a cognitive status change, but I don't want to agitate her either. I don't know what she's willing to do. And then for
Have her dye her hair.
Red hair.
just try to convince her, like buy her like these attitude sunglasses from Claire's, like the non-prescription. And just like really like something very different, like big butterfly, like you know.
But like I said, I showed it to him. He's like, "That's what she wants."
Oh, I'll have to think about that. Let me think about it. I could present it to the group and see if they come up with ideas. All right, let's get back. Let's get back and talk about it. That was a tricky issue. Yeah. Come on back. We're going to share what you came up with. It's okay if it's not a full thought. It's a creative process. And I want to say thank you for trying so hard to get into the dynamic of this because it's not easy. And sometimes we think creative means like whimsy, but creative's hard. All right. So if you pick your rep, if you could just talk in the mic so we have it on the video. Tell me the behavior and then go through the CAP process. Okay.
I get the lucky. Well, the behavior is this person with dementia wants to take their clothes off all the time.
This person with dementia wants to take just a little louder.
This person with dementia wants to take their clothes off, and we're not sure whether it's all the time or at certain times. So we
Okay.
determine that first.
How could you determine that? So part of your action plan is to determine when they take their clothes off. How
Right.
could you do that?
Well, we observe what time of day it is. If they're sundowning, I've seen a lady do it in front of children at 7 o'clock at night when they were doing a performance. It was her bedtime.
That's her bedtime. Oh,
So
okay.
it was
Yeah.
time for her to go to bed. So we put her to bed.
Yeah.
It wasn't a regular thing in her case.
Right.
But there are other people who do it for other reasons all day long.
Okay.
So we have to determine if that's the case. Sometimes they're in uncomfortable clothes. Sometimes something's itching them. Sometimes they need to be changed. They have some kind of a diaper thing that's uncomfortable or it's wet. Sometimes they don't like wearing some of the underclothing, maybe dressed without a bra or something. Whatever's comfortable for them to begin with, if that's
Right.
the problem.
Right.
Sometimes they're just hot. You think all old people are cold. They're not.
Right. Yeah.
So sometimes they don't like to wear a lot of clothing, and you put other things on them, and they can't tell you they're hot, but they keep taking them off.
Okay.
Sometimes they just have sexual curiosity. There was a case where somebody, knew a couple yeah, you knew a couple that wanted to be together, and that had something to do with it. So I guess you give them some time to be together.
If it's appropriate, old people like sex. I don't see why it's if it's appropriate and consensual.
It's just not in the hall.
It's not in the hall. Yes.
Okay. Sometimes they're just tired and agitated, and they want to lie down. Maybe they just want to be more comfortable, and it's just their expression. They can't explain maybe what's wrong, and they're just uncomfortable sitting there, and their clothes are bothering them in the position they're in the chair.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've seen it where they're just placed in the wheelchair in an uncomfortable way. And if they can tell you, like they'll say they have a wedgie or something, if they can't tell you, maybe they're just going to try to take matters into their own hands.
Yeah.
You know.
So what's our action? What are we going to do about it?
Well, depending on what we discovered.
Well, give me a couple actions.
Okay. Well, some of the actions are to give them a nap and let them lie down and get out of their chair or into more comfortable night clothes or whatever it is that they're looking for. Sometimes you can give them a doll or that has clothes on if they just want to fidget with their hands.
Yeah.
And they could do like a what did we call those? The ADL board with the zippers and ties and
ADL
things
board.
like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Or activity aprons.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Or maybe they want to have more sensory input and they want to feel different textures of material.
The need could be...
The need would be that sensory stimulation they're craving.
Okay.
If that's what it is, then you might want to give them swatches of different kinds of texture materials.
Swatches. Yeah, I mean, instead of a book to flip through, you could just have a book of textures. Yeah.
Something like that, or something else that they can manipulate with their hands that would give them the same satisfaction.
Yep.
And I think that's it.
And what was your prevention?
And the prevention is based on what the cause is, and then the interventions. We would, for instance, make sure they're toileted at regular times if that's the problem.
Yep.
We make sure they get their naps at regular times if that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they get put in their room right after dinner if they're really wanting to get out of their clothing because they're sundowning and it's bedtime. Make sure they go there at, again, a regular time. A lot of it's routine things. Yeah. They need to be kept on their routines. And maybe it is they just want to be able to do that activity themselves like a young child. With the 3 to 5 group,
some people just want to get undressed and change outfits all day.
Yeah, sure.
Just like that too. Yeah.
Sure, they just may want to do that task themselves, and if you let them do it once or twice, maybe they won't do it all day long.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
That's what she said. That's my 4-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah.
She changes 5 times a day, 5 different outfits every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if she doesn't want it, and then she wants to get in her pajamas for dinner.
Yeah, my girls want to do a fashion show.
Yeah.
Like they just keep changing their outfits.
That's what,
and you're just want to get naked?
Yeah.
Some kids are like that too. Thank you for sharing your ideas. Very good. Can you please tell me, are you the rep? Okay, so if you could tell me the behavior and then go through the CAP process. Thank you.
The behavior, we have a resident who's continually scratching on her arm. So the catalyst we're trying to determine, could it be dry skin?
Yep.
Could it be a visual distraction to her? Could it be an actual physical irritation from the healing, from the previous scratchings? Or is it possible it may have been some leftover form of a repetitive motion that she had, maybe from an occupation? So she had a factory job, and that's just something that keeps her arms busy and something working like that. So there were the catalysts.
Yep.
The action plan. The immediate action would be either we could cover it, so we remove the visual, treat it medically if it's a significant issue where there's blood, maybe treat it cosmetically with makeup or maybe a lotion, if it's a calamine lotion, something like that. Check for allergies, maybe she is allergic to the detergent or something in her clothing, and find an immediate distraction to get her away from that.
Okay.
And then the preventative program will be the first thing is to cut her nails very short and keep them
Prevention
filed
is to cut her nails
trim.
very short. Okay.
Possibly maybe put a soft glove on her hand.
Maybe
like
put a soft glove
cotton.
on her hand or a skin protective sleeve on the... I didn't tell you where the area was, so yeah.
Okay. Well, the other thing is put a long sleeve shirt on her if it's not that bad. That'll
I did
also
demo
remove the
to you.
visual as well as protect it. Maybe give her some preventative, something like Tylenol if it's really causing a pain. That's something that can be done on a preventative method so that she's not feeling the pain.
Yep.
And the other thing would be maybe give something in her hand like a fuzzy ball, something that's not only going to keep her hand busy, but if she's trying to scratch herself with that object, like a fuzzy tennis ball is not really going to be that bad, or one of those soft, squishy balls.
Yeah, and I think everything's worth trialing and seeing what happens. Did you have a suggestion?
It could also be a self-soothing behavior.
Could be self-soothing behavior.
Noxious stimuli or such like that.
Right, all right, so this might be something that she does to just comfort herself in general. I mean, some people are pickers, like kind of like a neuroticism kind of thing. I'm guilty of it. I'm like, yeah. Thank you for your ideas. It's wonderful. Thank you. Who's your rep? All right, I'll ask you questions and you can answer my questions. All right? All right, so what's the behavior? Spitting out their food. And what are potential reasons? Texture. Taste, temperature. They're not hungry. The amount that's in their mouth. It's like a protective kind of thing. Yeah. Their positioning. Okay. The environment could be overstimulating. Okay. Meds that they're on. Okay. I mean, what if they're on tricyclics? You know, that could be tardive dyskinesia, right? I don't know. All right. So there's a lot of ideas there. Okay. So what are some things that you're going to try for your action?
Make the food more appealing.
Visually and texturally make the food more appealing.
Make sure it's the right temperature.
Right temperature. Small. What? Maybe smaller bites, smaller spoon.
Start olfactory with some pleasant smells to stimulate.
So maybe have them smell some pleasant aromas before they start eating to stimulate their.
The ergonomics of good seating posture to facilitate a good soft swallow.
Make sure they're sitting properly so they have a good swallow facilitated. Mm-hmm. Maybe add some syrup or something sweet to their food. That's a good idea that you had. It's a good idea. Huh? I like it. I like it. And you know, just some things on a puree diet do not pure very well. Meat and string beans just never get it right. And sometimes it's almost better if you thicken it a little more somehow. So it's like not so, because you could pick out the little pieces, you know. And then what were some of your preventatives? I show you were demonstrating some oral stim kind of stuff you were thinking, or what were you doing? Huh? A cold spoon. Okay.
Continuity in the caregiver, because once you train someone in the right posture to facilitate a good swallow,
Yeah.
that person may have.
Maybe have the same caregiver on a regular basis, because this might be a complicated care plan and we want the carryover for it. Or, you know, if this is a long-term kind of place, sometimes they make that part of the restorative that the caregiver is a designated caregiver and they train one caregiver a day as part of the restorative plan. Because, I mean, not everybody works there 7 days a week and people leave a company. You know, so I think it's good to have a couple, but yeah, you want a continuous caregiver. Once there are things that are unsaid that we figure out about this person that we might not know how to articulate to others yet. Any other ideas?
Well, we're talking about the environment. Set up maybe have a special dining room for people that are involved this way.
Maybe have a special dining room dedicated to people who need special techniques. A quieter room, calmer atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Fewer interruptions.
The place I used to work at has a plan to have employees paired with residents.
Employees get paired with residents where you work, and what do they do? Oh, it's a plan. Okay, yeah. Plans are good.
Yeah, and they'll be dedicated to work with that person as a meal.
Oh, they'll be dedicated. So it's like all hands on deck. Sometimes works for that too if you don't have enough staff. If you're trying for that.
I think it was continuity too.
Oh, continuity with the pairing. That's a good idea. Consistent caregivers really does help. And yes.
I was
See if,
the doctor about seeing if different mechanisms.
yeah, absolutely. Review the meds, see if meds have something to do with it. And, you know, I mean, Remeron might be taken as an antipsychotic, but has a side effect to make people more hungry, but it has a cognitive side effect. So Remeron might not be the right drug of choice to increase their appetite if their cognition's lower and they're spitting at this level of cognition. So we talk about Megace or like Marinol.
We also talked about whether it's really a spitting or if it's more of like a tongue thrust that's developed as that someone is sort of showing more primitive reflexes.
So we want to be observant. Is it a sensory response of spitting, or is it a primitive reflex pattern of tongue thrust? Yeah. We didn't know that. Yeah. This person might also be at the end stage of life. Now we're going to ask if they might no longer be safe eating at all. And now we might have to have that family meeting about the PEG tube or not, and the family counseling. And this could be something at the very end of late stage indicating that they're losing that basic psychomotor ability to eat. And we could be talking about hospice. Absolutely. I agree. All right. Very creative. And I think, you know, little to no drugs involved in these ideas when you got your team together. And I just want to thank you for trying so hard to do that.